A painting where vibrancy meets introspection, signed by a contemporary master. This piece was purchased by the guest from an antique store when she lived in Pachog.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $45 for it. I tried to do a little research on the internet. It wasn't easy to find her name because it's signed Fulton Ross instead of her full name, which is Gail Fulton Ross.
Created by African-American visual artist Gail Fulton Ross, it is titled Gigi. Ross, based in Sarasota, Florida, is primarily a painter but also works in portraiture, printmaking, and sculpture. The painting bears the name Gigi after the wife of a prominent art collector who commissioned Ross to create the piece. Executed in oil on canvas, it features the artist's signature and the date 1995 on the reverse. Depicted as an African-American woman, seated with an open book in front of her as if absorbed in reading. What truly sets this work apart are the dynamic splashes of color surrounding the subject, lending her a commanding presence and quiet dignity. The painting reflects Fulton Ross's ongoing exploration of personal identity, cultural heritage, and intimate human emotion. At auction, this painting by Gail Fulton Ross would be worth.
I would actually put the value somewhere around $17,500 retail.
Oh my God, oh my God. That's every thrift shopper's dream. I'm so glad the power of reading still has some value. Thank you.
Yeah.
Each line in this painting carries both the discipline of tradition and the ease of a master's hand. This work was created by Cheng Daqian, one of the most influential Chinese artists of the 20th century. Daqian was celebrated as a modern impressionist and expressionist painter, widely regarded as one of the most prolific artists of his time. His career spanned more than 6 decades, during which he produced over 500 works annually, including paintings, copies of ancient scrolls, and study pieces. This painting was given to the guest's grandfather as a birthday present in 1964.
My mother's high school friend's father is a close friend of Zhang Daqian. So he reached out to Zhang Daqian to obtain the painting to paint specifically for my grandfather's birthday and was presented to him.
An inscription in Chinese on the upper left corner indicates it was created in 1969.
The combination here would be 1959, 6th month.
Wow, okay.
Okay. And then signed by the artist here, Da Qian Zhang, and then his classic signature with 2 seals of the artist.
By the late 1950s, impaired eyesight had led Daqian to develop his dramatic abstract style, using vibrant ink and pigment washes. The so-called splashed color or pokai method. In this work, he rendered the subject an orchid, with fluid calligraphic strokes from soft tapered leaves to delicate linear blossoms.
He felt as though if you painted an orchid, the orchid painting wasn't worth the paper that it was on unless it depicted the gracefulness of the leaves in the wind.
Paintings by Cheng Daqian are highly sought after by collectors, with some selling for upward of $10 million. Considering the period in which it was created, this particular painting would be worth.
Insurance value of this painting would be around $30,000.
Thank you. We are definitely going to keep this in the family, yes.
Fantastic.
This is a postcard handwritten by Edward Munch, which the guest first saw at an auction house, bid on, and eventually acquired much later. Munch was a Norwegian painter and printmaker whose emotionally charged symbolist vision profoundly shaped modern art and pioneered expressionism. Human emotion and existential angst drive his most famous series: The Sick Child, Love and Pain, Vampire, Anxiety, Melancholy, and the iconic The Scream.
To somebody else, to just an observer of this painting. He lost his sister Sophie when I think she might have been around 15, and he was maybe 13. He carried that grief with him through his life because he keeps coming back to
even
that.
The Scream, they think, has references back. I mean, it was all, he was haunted. He was sick himself. He had a lot of illnesses as a kid, and it's a big theme in all his work, is death.
Many of his works exist in multiple versions, as Munch was committed to revisiting and reworking key motifs. On the front of this postcard is his 1895 portrait, self-portrait with cigarette. On the reverse side is a piece of correspondence from 1909, written in Munch's own hand in German and addressed to a friend.
I think it says, "Dear Mr. Struck, you have my permission to reproduce a Mega and the Pig, and then I'm doing really well. Heartfelt greetings, Edward Munch."
You're absolutely right. He's writing to his friend, artist, and publisher, Hermann Struck. He wrote a book. It was published in 1908, and it was called Der Kunst die Radierung, which is the art of etching.
At the time, Munch was recovering from a mental and physical breakdown.
And he had a very dramatic girlfriend, and I think she shot him and shot his hand.
Yeah, it was like Sid Vicious in those days. And finally, he had really come to a crashing halt. Yeah. And he went into a psychiatric care in Copenhagen. This comes from the period when he had been released, he was recovering, and that's why in the note he said, "I'm doing well." It's not just a simple sentiment put in, it's really, he's reporting to Struck that he's okay, and he's getting back in the artistic saddle, and he's producing works again.
The message reflects personal introspection, optimism about his recovery, and a renewed artistic vision. It also bears Munch's signature, adding to its value and desirability. Even after more than a century, this handwritten postcard remains in pristine condition and is estimated to be worth.
I would put an estimate of $3,000 to $4,000 on it. It's a very kind of special item, and you did well. Whoever got that for you did you a great thing in that gift.
A late 19th century canvas, alive with golden fields and quiet motion. Originally, this painting belonged to the guest's maternal grandparents before it was given to her.
Shortly after I was married, my mother, who had had it in her attic for many years, since her parents' death, said to me, "I think this would look well in your home," and she offered it to my husband and myself, and we immediately said yes.
This painting is by one of America's Impressionist painters, Hamilton Hamilton. Hamilton was a painter and etcher, known mostly for his landscapes of the American West. He was born in Oxford, England. He lived most of his life in the eastern United States.
He established a studio in New York City in 1881. So this would have been done around the time that he had a studio in New York.
This particular painting is dated 1882 and signed by the artist on the lower right corner. The medium is oil on canvas, and there's a plaque on it with a title coming through the rye. And the subject of this painting is a female figure, walking through fields of ripe rye, evoking movement and pastoral warmth. She is dressed in a rustic attire, blending harmoniously into the surrounding landscape. The painting is done with a loose yet controlled brushwork, imparting texture to fields and natural elements. There has been some restoration work done on this painting, but that doesn't significantly affect its value.
There was a bit of a slash through the center of the painting. There was some mold on her face and some other places where the paint had kind of chipped away, as well as some issues with the frame. So we took it to a local conservator at the time, and they fixed it up for us.
Amongst collectors, Hamilton's works are highly sought after, and this piece would be worth.
If this were in a gallery, it probably would sell in the range of around $15,000.
Ah, wow.
If you were going to insure it, you would probably have put $20,000 on it
okay,
for
that's
insurance
good to know.
purposes.
Not everyone has the good fortune of collecting antiques from a very young age, but today's guest has been collecting since he was 7 years old.
So I was in a small antique shop about 5-6 years ago, and I saw this map on the wall, and it more or less spoke to me and said, "Take me home," and I didn't have the money to pay for it at the time. I had to pay for it over 3 installments. It was about $600 or so.
The item on display is a map attributed to Peter Shank, one of the guest's prized possessions. Shank was a German engraver and cartographer active in Amsterdam and Leipzig. This map, titled Novi Belgi, is a highly detailed depiction of the Northeast American colonies. At the time it was created, the cartographer portrayed the Dutch settled areas prominently, compressing New England to appear much smaller. In contrast, the Northeast was exaggerated, serving as propaganda, a monetization effort rather than a colonial endeavor.
The beavers in Europe were almost extinct at that time, and what they found was, through indigenous trading connections and alliances, that the beavers were plentiful and the pelt itself was thicker than the European beavers, and they were used primarily for top hats. It was very lucrative. So what this map shows is how the beaver became the impetus for mapping the area.
The map draws heavily on indigenous geography, featuring depictions of longhouses and Long Island, then called Matterwax. Another notable feature is one of the earliest known views of New Amsterdam, now New York City.
They had settled lower Manhattan, and they were hoping to keep it as an outpost. Of course, the rest is history, but this map shows the window in time when this area was being settled by Dutch people.
Although attributed to Peter Shank, the precise compiler of the geography remains uncertain. The original map was first printed around 1650, with numerous later editions. Based on the inscription at the bottom of this copy, it is part of the final editions printed around 1730.
We can see it says Nicholas Vischer, and below that, Nunc apud Peter Shank. Peter Shank purchased the plate.
Shank's editions are highly valued by collectors for their accuracy, decorative appeal, and historical significance, placing the estimated price of this piece in the range of...
I would put a retail value on it between $5,000 and $6,000.
That's very nice. Totally unexpected. Thank you. I love New York.
Exhibited on the show is a pottery vase and bowl gifted to the guest and his wife by his mother-in-law.
My wife's grandmother lived next door to an elderly couple in Romania, and they received these as a wedding gift. And then, unfortunately, during the communist times, of course, she had a two-bedroom apartment. They actually took the apartment from her, and she had to sell off all her goods. And she gave this to my wife's grandmother, who then gave it to my wife's mom. And when they came to America in 1990, she brought it with her.
These items were made by the Hungarian potter company Zolnay. Founded by Miklos Zolnay in Pest, Hungary in 1873, and later led by his son Vilmos Zolnay, the company gained international fame by the late 19th century.
The owner was really fascinated by the beauty of some artwares that were happening in Vienna, in Paris. And so he worked very hard, Mr. Zolnay, Vilmos, worked very hard in developing many different looks and many different glazes.
It won the Grand Prix at the 1878 Paris Exposition and exhibited pieces at major fairs in Vienna, Paris, Milan, London, and beyond. The iridescent glaze on these items, developed by Zolnay, is known as an eosin glaze. This glaze displays a shimmering oil-slick iridescence in hues of green, gold, ruby, violet, and blue, shifting dramatically under different lighting, a hallmark of Zolnay's chemical mastery. The surface of the bowl features an apple tree bearing fruit, with a pattern reminiscent of designs by Tiffany.
I think Tiffany probably got it from Japanese ceramics, this really tight wave. And this whole finish, this whole look of eosin glaze, was really an homage, in a way, to what Tiffany was doing. They were trying to make ceramics look like glass.
The bowl has a broad, rounded form with a gently flared rim, and the interior is elaborately decorated with crescent-shaped floral motifs. A mark beneath the bowl indicates it was made in the 1880s. Among collectors, Zolnay bowls with eosin glaze are uncommon, and this example would easily fetch a price of...
At auction today, probably $12,000 to $16,000, something like that.
The vase has a tall, slender body tapering to a narrow neck, adorned with stylized organic motifs in low relief. A mark on the underside dates it to the early 1900s, later than the bowl. There are some cracks on the mouth of the vase which slightly affect its market value. Even so, Zolnay vases are very rare, and this piece is estimated to be worth...
In this condition, still, at auction, most likely $10,000 to $15,000.
Wow.
Perfect condition, maybe $20,000.
Okay, wow, that's unbelievable. I'm impressed and shocked.
For his 12th birthday, the guest received the showcased book as a gift from his parents. This is no ordinary book. It is a copy of The Lord of the Rings signed by its author, John Ronald Royal Tolkien. Tolkien was an English writer, scholar, and philologist, best known for creating the richly detailed fantasy realm of Middle-earth and for pioneering the modern fantasy genre. He invented entire languages, developing Elvish dialects such as Quenya and Sindarin, along with complex naming systems rooted in his philological expertise. Tolkien's academic background profoundly shaped his storytelling and world-building. Shortly after signing this book, the guest wrote Tolkien a letter thanking him. Sadly, Tolkien passed away before he could reply. Displayed alongside the book is a letter from Tolkien's publisher, confirming that Tolkien had read the guest's letter prior to his passing. This edition of The Lord of the Rings was published in 1972, just 1 year before Tolkien's death, and the same year he was awarded the CBE, Commander of the Order of the British Empire. Given its provenance and historical significance in literary history, this signed copy is estimated to be worth
$12,000. Thanks very much indeed for bringing it in.
Thank you.
On display is a vintage football rulebook purchased by the guest at a bookstore in Rhode Island a few years ago. This was the first rulebook published by Hughes & Woodward, a Philadelphia sporting goods company active in the 19th century. The book is dated 1880, during the formative years of American football, when the sport was still evolving from rugby-style play.
And these were basically big scrums where with one ball people would just fight to get from one side of the field to the other. Eventually in 1860, both schools had to ban these mob matches because there were too many injuries.
American football in 1880 was heavily influenced by Walter Camp's innovations, including the line of scrimmage and the down and distance rules. This piece is a small pocket-sized booklet with a soft cover, designed to be carried by players, coaches, and referees. It outlines the official rules of football as codified in the early 1880s, including team sizes, scoring, field layout, and permissible plays. Additionally, it features interpretations of fouls, offsides, and scrimmage rules, vital as the sport was transitioning from rugby toward the American game. Rulebooks from the 1880s are scarce, as few were printed and even fewer have survived in good condition. Given its rarity and its reflection of the early commercialization of American football, this playbook is estimated to have an insurance value of...
I would place a value of $15,000.
Oh my goodness. You said $15,000?
$15,000 you'd want to insure this for.
Oh my goodness.
Presented is the original scorecard from the Shot Heard Round the World, the third playoff game of the 1951 Subway Series between the New York Giants and the Brooklyn Dodgers. The guest inherited this piece from his father, who was a member of the press corps at the time of the game.
And he was in the press booth when the game was being called and announced. When all bedlam broke out, as he described it, somehow he ended up with the official scorecard. He actually had both of them. One he donated back to the Dodgers, and this one he kept because Thompson's at-bat was never filled in, because all bedlam broke out in the booth.
What makes this scorecard truly significant is that it documents Bobby Thompson's legendary walk-off home run, dubbed the Shot Heard Round the World, which secured the pennant for the Giants. Bobby Thompson was a Scottish-born professional baseball player, famously nicknamed the Staten Island Scot. Displayed alongside the scorecard is a vintage photograph capturing the iconic moment Thompson hit the home run off Ralph Branca.
New York Dodgers 4, New York Giants 2. Bobby Thompson gets up, second pitch, high and inside, but Thompson takes it anyway and whacks it right into the left field lower bleachers, hitting a three-run homer, bringing himself the winning run home for the Giants to win the pennant. And the most famous moment was the announcers, all of the announcers, are all screaming, the Giants win the pennant, the Giants win the pennant, the Giants win the pennant.
Branca was an American professional baseball pitcher who played 12 seasons in Major League Baseball from 1944 through 1956. The scorecard also bears significant signatures that further enhance its value, including those of Monty Irvin, Bobby Thompson, Wes Westrom, and others. Only 2 of these scorecards are officially known to exist, and the presence of these important autographs makes this example even rarer. An appropriate insurance value for this signed scorecard, given its provenance, would be...
I would put an insurance value at least $20,000 to $25,000.
Okay, cool. Your dad would be shocked and thrilled. My wife's going to say, we can pay tuition with that. That's not happening.
A book where each page carries the marks of baseball's golden years. This is the 1939 edition of Who's Who in the Major Leagues. The guest was fortunate to discover it at the bottom of a book lot at an auction and purchased it.
I was hopeful that not too many other people had seen it at the bottom of a box lot. And so I was just waiting for it to come up. No one seemed to be interested in the box lot, so I got it for $10.
I can't imagine that excitement you must have had waiting for that to come up. How long ago was that?
It was about 5 years ago now.
This booklet, originally a media guide sold to the public, contains photographs and biographies of baseball players from the early 20th century. Among its highlights are the autographs of some of baseball's greatest icons, including Lou Gehrig's signature from 1939. Lou Gehrig was an American professional baseball player renowned for his exceptional hitting ability and remarkable durability, earning him the nickname the Iron Horse. Also featured are the signatures of Joe DiMaggio and a rookie Ted Williams. Joe DiMaggio was a celebrated center fielder who spent his entire 13-year Major League Baseball career with the New York Yankees. In total, this booklet contains about 184 signatures, making it an exceptionally valuable and highly collectible piece of baseball memorabilia. At auction, given the historical significance of the signatures, this book is estimated to be worth...
I would put a value of this at auction at $10,000 to $15,000.
Fantastic. It will go to the kids because they're baseball fans also, but nice.
Set on the display table is a ring the guest acquired from a lady her grandmother once worked with.
My grandmother was an Irish baby nurse and like housekeeper right here in the area. Worked for some really wealthy families. I must have been like 3 years old. We went to visit her at work at this old woman's house, and the old woman just took the ring off and gave it to me.
This is a gold, platinum, and diamond cocktail ring created by Duke Fulco de Verdura. Verdura was an influential Italian jeweler whose career took off after composer Cole Porter introduced him to designer Gabrielle Coco Chanel. His jewelry is celebrated for bold, elegant designs that blend classical motifs with modern sensibility. Verdura was renowned for breaking away from traditional jewelry symmetry, favoring striking designs inspired by nature, art, and classical themes. According to the appraiser, this ring was crafted around the 1960s, during Verdura's mid-century creative peak in New York. It reflects Verdura's signature aesthetic, architectural yet organic, with sculptural forms. Adding to its significance and collectability is the fact that the ring bears Verdura's signature. At auction, given the ring's desirability and exceptional craftsmanship, it is estimated to be worth
Between $7,000 and $9,000.
Oh, wow.
And I would expect it to do the higher end of that estimate or even better.
Well,
it's a great thing.
I'm glad I kept it safe.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much.
A bat that carries more than hits. Its surface holds the signatures of the game. This is an autographed Louisville Slugger baseball bat made by Hillerick and Bradsby Co. of Louisville, Kentucky. In the 1960s, the guest began collecting this piece, and over the years he acquired numerous autographs on it.
So I've been collecting Hall of Fame autographs and putting them on there as I went. I always brought my children with me, my 3 boys, and it was a great time. So, a lot of family memories.
The bat itself is remarkable in size, measuring 6 feet in length. There are a total of 80 signatures on the bat, 78 belonging to Hall of Famers and 2 others. As provenance, the guest also brought photographs he took of some players as they signed the bat. One of the most prominent signatures is that of Hall of Famer Willie Mays. Mays was an American professional baseball center fielder who played 23 seasons in Major League Baseball. Another iconic signature is that of Hall of Famer Joe DiMaggio. Joe DiMaggio was a professional American baseball center fielder who spent his entire 13-year Major League career with the New York Yankees. A baseball bat with this many authentic signatures is extremely rare, and if it were to come up for auction, it would likely fetch a price of
$4,000 to $6,000.
Okay, very nice.
A multi-signed piece like this doesn't always translate to what you would think as far as when you look at the value of their autographs.
Before the records and the rings, Mays and Mantle were just names on new cards. Showcased are 3 baseball cards, a 1951 Mickey Mantle, a 1952 Mickey Mantle, and a 1951 Willie Mays. Mickey Mantle was an American professional baseball player who spent his entire Major League Baseball career with the New York Yankees. Mantle's cards are among the most collected post-war baseball cards. Similarly, Willie Mays was an American professional baseball center fielder who played 23 seasons in Major League Baseball. Both players are Hall of Famers, and their cards remain highly desirable among collectors. These cards were issued in the early 1950s by Bowman, a leading card manufacturer of the mid-20th century. It's remarkable that these cards have retained their superb condition, making them even more sought after. Given their significance and desirability, the appropriate insurance value for all 3 would be
$60,000 to $100,000.
Pretty amazing. A lot of good memories, too.
What we have here is a vintage doll that originally belonged to the guest's grandmother before being passed down to her. This doll was made around 1870 by the renowned French doll company Jumeau. Jumeau was one of the most celebrated French doll makers of the 19th century, renowned for creating exquisitely crafted bisque dolls that remain highly collectible today. The doll features a pressed bisque head, delicately painted with finely arched brows, soft blush, and blue enamel eyes. It wears a human hair wig, styled in period-appropriate fashion. Its fully articulated wood-jointed body moves at the shoulders, elbows, hips, and knees for posing. Additionally, it is dressed in its original clothing, which significantly enhances its value. At auction, this vintage Jumeau doll would be valued at
would be somewhere between $2,500 and $3,500.
Wow. Wow.
Today's guest brought a Rolex watch to the show that was left to him after his father's passing.
When we were growing up, my twin and I, we would always kind of fight for it because we always thought it was like a nice piece of watch. He decided at the end that he would give it to whomever would go the farthest in education. So we were kind of competing growing up. We studied the same things, graphics and arts and all that. At the end, I got a master's degree, and it ended up on my end. But we share it. I share it with my brother. It's just something sentimental.
The watch is a Rolex Daytona Cosmograph, reference number 6263. According to the watch's serial number, it was made in 1978, part of the pre-automatic winding era. It features the sought-after Panda dial with 3 subdials for timing, a 30-minute counter, a 12-hour counter, and small seconds.
The Panda dial, and that comes exactly from the Panda bear, black and white. So when you look at it, you see here you have a silver-white dial, you have the black subdials. Other watches have black dials with white subdials. Most collectors feel that this is the most pleasing dial of all the watches.
Additionally, the dial bears the red Daytona script above the lower register, a highly desirable detail. Around the outer edge of the dial is a black acrylic tachymeter bezel for speed measurement. The components are housed in a 37mm stainless steel oyster case with screw-down crown and pushers for water resistance.
This model has screw-down waterproof buttons. The earlier models of this watch, the buttons could accidentally be depressed, and you might start off a timer or stop a timer inadvertently. So to fix that problem, they decided, let's make them screw down, and now you can't accidentally move them.
Right.
By the late 1970s, the Daytona had not yet achieved the legendary status it holds today. Production numbers were relatively low, making surviving examples scarce. Collectors seek all original dials, hands, bezels, and unpolished cases, qualities this timepiece retains. At auction, this rare Rolex Daytona with all its components intact would easily be worth.
This watch is going to sell $95,000 to $105,000.
Oh my God. That's crazy. Really, it's crazy because I've worn it on the subway sometimes. And knowing that I've got like $100,000 in my wrist.
Hidden in a chicken coop, shifted from attic to barn, and then quietly glowing in a dining room, this piece's journey is as unusual as its design. The guest inherited it from her grandfather, a groundskeeper who rescued it from an estate in Gloucester, where it somehow survived decades of dust and neglect.
My grandfather was a superintendent of the grounds at an estate in Gloucester, Massachusetts at Eastern Point. And this apparently came from the estate. I don't know when, but somehow he got it. It was in his chicken coop for years because where do you put a piece like this? Then it went to my parents' house, where it went to the attic, where it stayed for many years, where it came to my house in the 90s. This was on the sun porch for many years, and then in the summertime, we put it in the barn up in the loft. And then, it's traveled a lot, and then it went to my dining room not too long ago.
What we see now is a massive, intricately built stained glass shade, an early, unsigned Tiffany-style chandelier. The style is geometric, almost Aztec in form, and its background glass whispers of unmistakable Tiffany craftsmanship. Its hardware tells 2 stories, some parts clearly original Tiffany, while others are period accurate but likely added during installation or repair.
What's interesting about it is looking at the hardware. Some of it's Tiffany and some of it's not. The sockets are attached to arms and that half ball and the pipe that goes up to the top. Those parts are not Tiffany. They're period, but they're not Tiffany. But the chains and the lovely arms coming out of the top, those have the decorative devices that you'd see on a lot of the early Tiffany lamp bases at the time.
The lack of a signature doesn't diminish its identity. In fact, many authentic early Tiffany shades went unsigned, their true signature etched in glasswork, balance, and structure. Inside, the support fins are a marvel, zigzagging with intention, designed not to block the art, but to preserve it, typical of early 20th century Tiffany finesse. The chains and arms are adorned with decorative motifs found in known Tiffany lamp bases, further strengthening the attribution. Most remarkable is its survival. At 33 inches wide, a piece this side is usually prone to damage, but this one remains nearly flawless.
One of the great things about the shade is the way it's constructed, and I think one of the reasons it's survived as long as it has is on the interior it has these wonderful support fins.
Yeah.
And in typical Tiffany fashion, they are placed in such a way that they are not obscuring any part of the glass, but yet it lends the support to the shade.
Even the finish, or lack thereof, aligns with the company's early custom-built pieces for grand estates.
This way, where the hook was placed. So it was very artfully done, and that's the thing about Tiffany. The attention to detail points in every direction that this was made by Tiffany.
Oh, wow. Even with no signature.
I love when you ask that.
In today's retail market, this massive unsigned Tiffany Shade could command between.
Retail setting could be priced anywhere between $100,000 and $150,000.
Good to know.
The owner explains that the letter was found among the possessions of her late father, an unexpected link to one of the most famous entertainers in America. Typed on personal stationery and signed in bold blue ink, this 1976 letter from Frank Sinatra was addressed to Chicago columnist Mike Royko in response to a critical article.
And I was sitting there and I said, I'll bid $400. Maybe a couple of weeks later, the phone rang, I picked it up. This is Mike Royko. I just let out a holler. That was the story of how I got the letter.
Sinatra's words are sharp and unapologetic, defending his public image and challenging Royko's portrayal of his entourage and behavior. In addition to being a vocalist, Frank Sinatra was a cultural influence. His impact extended beyond music, cinema, and American culture, from the smoky Rat Pack stages to political fundraisers and Hollywood movie sets. Among the most sought-after types of memorabilia are signed letters from famous people, particularly when they provide context or content beyond the autograph alone. This particular letter was addressed to a radio host, thanking him for his support. It reflects Sinatra's graciousness and his aware of those who helped shape his career behind the scenes. Historians and collectors alike will find this document more appealing because it provides substance and insight, unlike clipped signatures or generic notes.
He signs it Sinatra and then copyrights it, so if it's ever published, it has to be published in full.
It is exceptionally well preserved, with clear text, crisp paper, and an intact signature, all of which are important components of its value.
These two are his responses to Sinatra's letter, where he talks about how he plans on auctioning it off after he found out that people were interested in the letter, and he wanted the money to go to a good cause, the Salvation Army.
This letter, with its wit, candor, and distinctive voice, encapsulates a moment in which ego, media, and stardom all came together on one page. At auction, this 1976 Frank Sinatra signed letter would be valued at.
I would estimate it at auction at least $15,000. And I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if this letter sold for more than that.
Gee, I'm gonna faint. I'm gonna faint. I really.
Are you all right?
Oh, yes, give me a seat. Oh, man. Are they kidding me? Did you all hear that? Did you all hear that?
The owner shares that he purchased the watch new in the mid-1970s while serving in the US military overseas and has kept it in pristine condition ever since. This stainless steel Rolex Cosmograph Daytona, reference 6263, features the iconic black acrylic bezel and screw-down pushers, hallmarks of the oyster case design introduced in the early 1970s. The dial is a reverse panda configuration, black with white subdials paired with red Daytona text above the 6 o'clock register, a coveted detail among collectors. This example includes its original box, papers, and even the Rolex brochure, an extraordinary level of completeness that dramatically enhances its value. The watch's condition is exceptional, with sharp case edges, an untouched dial, and a bracelet that shows minimal stretch, indicators of careful preservation. With its provenance, completeness, and iconic design, this Daytona is more than a timepiece. It's a symbol of horological history and enduring style. Today, vintage Daytonas from the 1970s, especially with well-preserved dials and matching numbers, command astronomical prices at auction houses across the globe. At auction, this 1976 Rolex Cosmograph Daytona would be valued at...
I think today, at auction, you'll probably be looking at $35,000.
Really?
Yeah.
The guest explains how he stumbled upon this oil on canvas by a California artist, Vincent G. Stipovich.
And right over her bed was this painting. She said that it was given to her when she got married, and she wanted us to have it, just $35.
This oil painting, created in the late 1800s, is the work of Vincent G. Stipovich, a Russian-born artist known for his genre scenes and refined academic technique. The composition features a young woman seated in a richly appointed interior, rendered with delicate brushwork and a warm, luminous palette. Stipovich's attention to costume, texture, and expression reflects his training in the European academic tradition and his flair for storytelling. The painting's original frame and signature, which are important components in assessing its value, are still present, and it is in superb shape. This piece is valued among California plein air collectors due to its geographical authenticity and association with West Coast art trends of the late 19th century. This artwork has been brought back to prominence and is now a beautiful representation of a bygone period in California landscape painting that is deserving of exhibition and admiration. At auction, this late 19th century Vincent G. Stipovich painting would be valued at...
I think today a very fair auction estimate on this painting would be between $15,000 and $20,000.
Wow, 15 to 20.
15 to 20.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
These two unsigned oil landscapes were found hidden in a family attic. They feature styles reminiscent of early 1900s Sheldon Parsons and Adolph Robert Schultz.
This was kind of damaged and only the artists wore it, and it was in the $3 bin.
In the what bin?
The $3 bin.
$3 bin,
yes.
Okay.
That one I think was a little closer to $10.
The changing nature of American landscape and portraiture in the early 1900s is captured in these two oil paintings, one by Adolph Robert Schultz and the other by Sheldon Parsons. Parsons' work, likely painted after his move to Santa Fe, reflects the soft light and earthly palette of the Southwest, rendered with impressionistic brushwork.
Signed here, dated 1917, so 4 years after he'd actually moved out there.
In contrast, Schultz's portrait reveals his academic training and attention to psychological nuance, hallmarks of his work in the Brown County art colony. Both artists adopted plein air techniques, capturing brief moments of light and shadow with a decidedly American sensibility, echoing the impact of French Impressionism. Both artists, Parson in New Mexico and Schultz in Indiana, contributed to local American art movements, while each added a unique perspective to the national dialogue. Both paintings are in excellent condition, and they have visible signatures and original frames, which are important components of their value. In addition to their visual appeal, these works are particularly sought after because of their significance in a broader story of how regional art colonies influenced the cultural geography of American painting in the early 1900s. At auction, the pair of paintings by Parsons and Schultz would be valued at...
This one at auction, I think, should fetch $4,000 to $6,000.
Oh, marvelous.
This one, I think, would comfortably make $8,000 to $12,000.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to move to Denver and start following you around all the thrift stores.